Support for Audacious with Chion Wolf provided by a generous contribution from Suzanne Hopgood in memory of Frank Lord.
Hi, Michelle?
Yeah, hi, Chion. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you totally nailed it. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me on our first date. I've been using a bunch of apps for a while now, and I was just beginning to lose hope, but I gotta say, when I saw your profile, wow, your bio, your interests, your face, I knew I had to swipe right.
Thanks. I'm really glad you did. So what kind of things are you into? What makes you happy?
Well, I'm actually working on this episode of my show right now, all about how couples meet in the most unexpected ways. Like, there's this one couple, Alex and Sue Tatham. They met on this huge UK dating show back in 1988 called Blind Date. And they didn't think anything would come of it, because why would they? But it turns out they totally fell deeply in love. And when they got married, it was broadcast to 17 million people. Oh, and then there are these two Disney superfans, Heather and Tony, who found each other on a Disney fan dating website called mousemingle.com. But check this out. They started off on opposite sides of the world. She was in Australia and he was in Florida. And the moment they met in real life, their relationship turned into this real-life Disney movie. And oh my God, this last story is wild. One day, this guy named Robbie, who lives in Vancouver, Canada, got liked on a dating app by this guy named Avichai, a dude thousands of miles away in Israel. After chatting online for like 3 years, Robbie finally books a trip to visit Avichai on October 6th, 2023, right as the Israel-Hamas war broke out. And they spent their second night together in a bomb shelter. Can you imagine?
Right. I'm just going to stop you right there. You seem like a really nice lady, but you talk a lot about dating apps and dating shows, which I'm so sorry, but it's just kind of giving me the ick. So I'm going to just go ahead and call it a night. Nice to meet you, though, and good luck with the show.
Well, there she goes. But you're still here, and you are cute. From Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford, this is Audacious. I'm Chion Wolf. Let's swipe right on our first story, which took place way before dating apps were a twinkle in some tech bro's eye, but just as dating shows on television were taking off. The British show Blind Date has a similar format to The Dating Game here in the U.S. 3 singles sat on a stage, separated by a screen so the contestant on the other side couldn't see them. The contestant would ask the panel fun questions like, if you were in a talent show, what would you do to win first prize? Or if you were invisible for an evening, what would you do? They'd choose a panelist based purely on their answers, without having any idea what they looked like. And then came the big reveal. Here's a clip of that fateful 1988 Blind Date episode when Bachelor Alex Tatham met his future wife, Sue.
Here she is. You chose the lovely number 2, and that was Sue from West Midlands. Come in, Sue! Tell us first impressions.
Well, she's lovely.
I asked Sue what in the world compelled her to sign up for a televised dating show.
It wasn't me that decided to go on it. It was my friends. And they didn't tell me. So they sent off the application form or a letter to apply. And the dating show company, London Weekend Television, wrote back to them. Wrote to me, that's right, and said, your friends have written on your behalf, which is lovely, but we actually need you to say that's okay. So obviously I went to my friends and showed them this letter and I said, what have you done? And they said, gosh, that's exciting. They've accepted you. I said, no, they haven't. There's a lot to go before they accept me. I've got to fill it in this application form. And it was huge with lots of things done. I said, so we're going to do this together and you're going to help me. So we did.
I just wanted a girlfriend. Listen, that's not true at all. One has to understand that the dating show that we are on was like the biggest primetime show in the UK at that time. I mean, that's a bit weird now, but it was prime family viewing. So I'm saying to you, it was X Factor, it was Pop Idol, it was American Idol, but it was all of those things. And it was the most popular TV show, particularly when I applied to go on in the first place. So What I'm really saying to you is that I really wanted to show off to a bigger audience.
But also, it was one of the first TV shows where audience members, normal people, were invited to take part.
So almost the first reality TV show in the country, yeah.
Now, when you got on the show and you knew, oh God, this is happening, how much of you really thought, I could find someone I could love for the rest of my life?
I would say 0%, really. No chance. I thought I'll have a nice day. I thought I'll be seeing how a television program is put together and made. Very exciting. Never knew how that happened. And that was really the end of it.
I agree. It's the most appalling way to meet anyone.
All right, well, I want to back up a second. Now, Alex, you had to pick between 3 different unknown women. There was Lynn, Kate, and Sue. Why did you pick Sue?
Well, I think it was a bit of a potluck thing. You see me on the show, if you watch the show, me almost going eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I mean, it was really that, I had no idea. And to be honest with you, we probably cared even less, frankly. But the most important thing is that now we have the very first moment that mummy laid eyes on daddy, when you can show that to your children. Because that really was the very first moment that we see each other.
So when did it turn into something real?
Quite quickly, I think. And we went, our date was a medieval banquet in Ireland. We went to County Clare, to Shannon, and to Limerick, and to the Cliffs of Moher and the Blarney Stone we kissed.
We were very highly chaperoned. So there was 4 of us on the date. There was myself and Alex, and the male photographer and the female researcher. So although they weren't holding our hand, they were very much closely in the background.
I think for making sure that we didn't do much more than hold hands, I think
Exactly.
is probably the answer. But nevertheless, we clearly hit it off. And to show what a demure family show it was, they put us, the boys and the girls, in hotels 5 miles apart.
Oh, wow.
So we didn't even stay in the same hotel. And when we came home, I said to Sue, what are you doing for the evening? Because we had to meet the next day for a bit of separate filming to see how we thought about each other.
Alex lived in London, and I am from the Midlands, which is 150 miles away from London. And so I had to stay in a hotel in London, and Alex stayed at home. So he was okay. He was with his family. And
So I said, well, Sue, would you like to come out? And I'm a zoologist by profession. So I took Sue to London Zoo. And this is a tried and tested technique, by the way. Can I just recommend to all the boys listening to this, is to take your prospective girlfriend to the zoo, claim that you're on telly and blind date, and then you get to hold a baby chimpanzee, and as a result, your future girlfriend will do anything you ask.
That's the trick. That's why all the Tinder profiles have a guy holding a puppy.
I'll absolutely take your word for it, Kyle. So that was the time, probably, when we turned it from a fun first date into a more serious second date.
And by then we were on our own for the first time.
Now, when you were thinking, let's have our wedding televised in a blind date special in 1991, what was going through your head? Did that seem like the natural thing to do, considering how you met?
Not at all, but there was much excitement over our engagement, and we were quite swept up in it, I have to say. And the production team started to say, this will be really nice. Would you mind if we filmed it? They were lovely and never pressurized to do anything. And so we said, actually, it sounds quite good fun.
Well, if you remember, Sue, that they said, could we bring a TV crew outside the church and take a couple of snaps of a view outside the church? And we said, well, that would be delightful. And in the end, of course, we had a sort of Goodyear blimp TV tower, 6 TV crews. There were 5,000 people outside the church.
And 17 million viewers. My producer, Jessica, who loves numbers, by the way, she tells me that was almost 1/3 of the UK's entire population at the time. What?
It came first in the ratings of the year in 1991 for all the TV shows. Now, listen, they were very clever, the TV guys, because effectively it was clearly a huge story in the UK. Sue is effectively Kelly Clarkson at this point. I mean, she is absolutely massive. Everything on the front page of every newspaper. Profiles of Sue appear everywhere. And I just sit there and nod and wave in the background saying she's cool.
Now, I'm only getting to know you just from our experience here and with the research we've done. But part of me can see how this attention is fun. It's exhilarating. It gives you maybe resources that you wouldn't have in any other lifetime. But what of this experience really sucked.
Very little. They didn't do anything that we didn't want. So the wedding itself, they filmed what we wanted to do. They didn't say, could you do that? But perhaps the worst bit was all the newspapers all followed us on honeymoon.
Even though we'd said no, we said, you can film our wedding, but our honeymoon is our own.
Yeah. We've managed to control that very well because actually it's fun as opposed to, it doesn't happen all the time. I don't get to speak to many American radio shows, Kyle, you'll be glad to know. And as a result...
This is a first for us too.
Yeah, exactly.
An exclusive. What? Audacious exclusive? That's amazing. Thank you for telling me.
And I think because we're normal people, essentially, we managed to slip back into obscurity. And when we were married for 30 years, there was a lot of attention. And then again, we just slipped back into obscurity. So it's never been a problem, really. And as you say, it's quite exciting for that reason when it does happen.
I feel compelled to ask you maybe what ingredients go into a great, healthy, strong, loving marriage. But I mean, you got to have an answer to that, at least for you, right?
Well, I think we've both got the same answer, which is important. We just say share everything. We share experiences. We just share. It's just great.
I think we went in with a very similar set of values. We went into the dating show with a similar set of expectations and values. And we found that our values were shared all the way through. And I think that we share life's values. We've shared them with our children, who are now 28 and 26, and are variably sort of embarrassed and delighted the fact that their parents are every now and again recognised in front of them. But it is such a gentle thing, and such a lovely thing, and such a fairy tale story. Pretty unlikely that Sue and I would have ever met had we not been on this particular show. Never. We come from very different parts of the country, very different backgrounds, but actually we've had the most wonderful life together and are having a lovely life together. And I can't believe for a second that it would be any different, really, had we met in a different way.
Alex, when we were researching you, one of my producers found your LinkedIn profile, and it says, among your impressive professional achievements, that one of your other specialties is being fantastic. So, Sue, I've got to ask you, in what ways do you see that Alex is fantastic?
Gosh.
I'll sit back now.
Just genuinely everywhere. Supportive, fun, loud, crazy, loving, takes me out a lot. We have fun, we laugh, and we like to do things. We love learning, having new experiences and sharing all that. And he's just easy to be with and always looks after me, which is great, as I do him.
I think what's important generally is that people ask you when they want to know how you are, they often say in the morning, Alex, how are you? And rather than say, I'm okay, thanks, I just say, fantastic. I'm fantastic. And the reason you say that is that first, it makes you feel better. And secondly, it makes them feel better. And so when people ask me how I am, that is how I describe myself, is I'm fantastic.
I'm going to borrow that. Thank you. Alex, in what ways is Sue truly fantastic?
She is remarkably lovely to everyone. We went to a party the other day and everyone just said to me, your wife is just delightful. And I think that one gets reflective glory when everyone says looks at your wife and says, what did you do to deserve her? And that is exactly how I feel about her. She is a wonderful, wonderful individual that has brought up two stunning children who love her much, much more than me, obviously. And clearly, we have the most extraordinary life. We're extremely happy together. We've got this lovely house in London, and we are extremely happy together. And that's a lovely, lovely thing to be able to have said after 31 years. And I think that having a stable home and a stable family is just a great thing to be able to give to your children if you can. And we have been able to. And I don't think we'd have been able to had Sue not been truly lovely.
Fantastic, I think it was.
Fantastic. Alex and Sue Tatham, thank you so very much for talking with me.
Kion, it's a pleasure to speak to you. And lovely to speak to you all the way through the UK. And good luck finding love on a dating app yourself. I'm so sorry.
We are going out with their song, A Groovy Kinda Love by Phil Collins. When we get back, meet Heather and Tony, whose shared love of Disney brought them together across thousands of miles.
Yeah, I thought I was just meeting someone to ride roller coasters with, and instead I found a husband. So.
And later, Robbie Romu and Avichai Sofer, whose relationship was tested by war just a day after meeting in person for the first time.
I can't explain how safe he made me feel. I was in a bomb shelter. I swear to you, like rubble is bouncing off my hat. And I did not think I was going to die. As long as he was there, we were going to be okay.
I'm Chion Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay with me.
When I'm feeling blue, all I have to do is take a look at you. Then I'm not so blue. When I'm in your arms, nothing seems to matter. My whole world could shatter. I don't care. Wouldn't you agree? Baby, you and me got a groovy kind of love. We got a groovy kind of love. When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you.
This is Audacious. I'm Chion Wolf. For Heather in Australia and Tony in Florida, it wasn't a magic carpet ride that brought them together. It was mousemingle.com, a dating site made exclusively for Disney lovers. Their connection stretched from one side of the globe to the other, proving that sometimes it is a small world after all. And their love story? Well, let's just say it's sprinkled with a lot of magic, a few well-timed fireworks, and a whole lot of love. Wait, what am I doing? I don't want to reveal the whole fairy tale ending. Let's let Heather pull back the curtain on how their love story began in December of 2015.
So, single lady in Australia, really passionate about Disney. Hear on the news that there's a new dating website called mousemingle.com, which is specifically for Disney fans. So I hop online. I'm so excited to check it out. There's only 3 Aussie men on it, which didn't seem like good statistics for me. So I thought, well, I'm going to Florida in a few weeks. Let me put in my Florida search and see who comes up. And this guy popped up.
So I got notification of a like, and I had found my way to the service as a new divorcee, and friends and family that knew I was a Disney adult recommended it to me as a way of finding my people. So I created a profile and got this like notification from Heather, and I thought she was cute. And despite her distaste for what was one of my favorite Disney movies at the time, The Lion King, I thought that there still might be enough there for us to meet and have some fun together at the parks while she was.
Wait, Heather, what's the problem with The Lion King?
Yeah, important to note that Mouse Mingle actually asks you questions that are less about you and more about what you like and don't like about Disney. And it does ask you to be honest about what your least favorite Disney movie is. And mine is The Lion King, which he had as his favorite, but that didn't stop us. I love the music. It's just not my movie. It's just not my movie. So
That's fair. It's not for everybody. And that Disney has enough for everybody.
Exactly. It's a library. You choose your favorite book. It doesn't have to be the same as everyone else's. So we moved past that barrier.
We did, and we started communicating, which started with just a few exchanged messages, but then quickly turned to phone calls and FaceTimes, which was difficult to synchronize because with Australia being often 12 or 14 hours ahead, I was waking up at 5 a.m. so I could have a little conversational date, if you will, with Heather. And this was all knowing that she had at least there was knowing that she would be here in a matter of a few weeks. So we had 3 weeks to communicate before we got to meet in person, and then we did.
Okay, so will you take me to that moment when you first met in real life?
So here I am planning to land in Orlando to go to Disney World. And normally I would just catch the Disney bus. But this guy, stranger on the internet, says, how about I pick you up from the airport? And Australians aren't known for being scared of much. So I was like, sure, let a complete stranger that I've only talked to for 3 weeks pick me up from the airport. And when I came off the shuttle and saw Tony standing there with a big Mickey balloon, flowers, a handmade poster with all sorts of cute references to the conversations we'd had, I was like, well, he's definitely been seen by security at the airport here, so they'll have some record of me going with this person if no one can find me later. And we knew from the very first hug, it was like lightning striking. I don't know. We just knew from that moment that it was meant to be.
Tony, now you were totally prepared for this. You pulled out all the stops and you showed up with all of your might to this first experience. Why?
Good question, because it sounds like it might be a little crazy that I did, but I didn't expect that I would have necessarily some sort of relationship past her original visit. So I felt like, here's this woman that's coming from Australia that doesn't have a travel companion to go enjoy something that she really enjoys as much as she does, that I also share that enjoyment of. So I was like, let's make use of this time together. And I had even planned a date at one of the nicest restaurants there because I knew it was something that I would enjoy sharing with her that maybe she would never have that chance to go do, particularly if she was vacationing on her own. So I thought it would just be a great way for her to have a memorable trip. So I pulled out all the stops, and not realizing that years later we would have a child out of it, and a home and extra family. And so,
yeah, I thought I was just meeting someone to ride roller coasters with, and instead I found a husband. So it definitely didn't go to plan, but this plan was so much better than what I had planned. So
now, Heather, you said at the airport that you knew.
Oh, yeah. Knew from that first hug. I was just like, I think this is the moment I've been waiting for my whole life.
Okay, so when I hear that, I think, first of all, I totally want that to happen to me someday. And it's funny because I used to say to my friends, like, I don't know, maybe I'm Disney-fied, but I want to feel that, oh my God, this is it feeling. I want it. That's the way I want my story to go when I meet my person. And I used to kind of roll my eyes at it, but I also recognize that it does happen. So in a way, was this your Disney dream come true?
Oh, totally. And then even if I'd had any walk back from that first moment, we're at our most magical place on earth at Disney World, and we're just one thing after the other kept reaffirming that this was totally the right thing. I mean, like, Tony went to open a door for me one night after we'd been in the theme park and we were going to dinner somewhere. He went to open the car door and thought, I'm going to lean in for a kiss. And no joke, the second that we kissed, the fireworks went off in the sky and the music started playing. And there's no way he could have timed that more perfectly, but he didn't plan it. It just happened. And so it was just this week of constant little reminders that, like, no, don't think this is a fraudulent thing. Where it's for real. Keep going, keep going. And every moment since then has been just always with great love and support from our family. And yeah, we're just constantly reminded that it was the perfect match.
So you have this wonderful time together, and then you fly back home. And then you moved to Florida less than 3 months later. Any doubts or any hesitation whatsoever? Was there anything in you that's a character in a Disney movie saying, whoa, Heather?
No.
Think this? No. Okay.
Absolutely nothing. Even trying to sell my stuff in Australia, I sold my car 48 hours before I was supposed to move here. Like, you know, I needed it until I was leaving, but I also needed to sell it. And somebody out of the blue was like, yep, I'll give you cash tomorrow. I'll take it off your hands. It's like.
And then later she shows up with 2 pallets worth of Christmas ornaments and
Disney
decorations.
Christmas ornaments.
Will you tell me about the engagement, please? How did that go? I mean, obviously it worked, but how did it go logistically?
We were at Grand Central Station, and I had orchestrated a guitar player to be there. and serenade us, and for a photographer to capture the moment. And although a crowd did gather, of course, like I wasn't even thinking about the other onlookers until I saw the photos. I was just thinking about trying to squeeze out the right words and sound mildly eloquent.
And the clock struck 12 in all our pictures, just like Cinderella. So I was like, here's another little Cinderella moment.
It's midnight.
Yes, so it is, but why?
Goodbye.
No, wait. You can't go now. It's only...
Oh, I must. Please, I must.
But why?
All right, so of course you had your wedding at Disney World. Tell me everything.
Yeah, so I don't even think it was a question. And 3 of our wedding guests that came from Australia remember me telling them at age 11 when we met in high school there, because high school starts in 7th grade. They all, on separate days of our week-long wedding event, apologized that they didn't believe me when we were 11 and said, here we are at your actual Disney wedding that you've been telling us you were going to have. But really, there wasn't a more perfect place to do that. Everybody that was local could drive over. Everybody that was going to come in from another state, and mostly Disney happy, loving people in Tony's family. So they were happy to come there and be there for us. And we had about 25 Aussies fly across the world. And for most of them, that was their first visit. But of course, most of them also hadn't met the person I was going to marry. So I was like, I just want one thing before we walk down the aisle. And I want to spend time riding rides with these people, because what better place to meet someone than while you're standing in a line waiting to do something fun, you have all this time to talk. So we set up a whole bunch of play days, really, where we invited all the wedding guests to just join us and line up with us and have lunch with us or dinner with us. And then that way they didn't feel like I was marrying a complete stranger a few days later. And I think it made all the difference, because everyone was just like, this is your person. He's so amazing.
Well, and I fell in love with them too. Yeah. That was just a great opportunity for us to give them a reason to have a vacation, and for us to bond leading up to the big event being our wedding without being a stranger.
It couldn't have been more perfect, truly. And I think by Wednesday, because we got married on a Wednesday, but I think by the Wednesday, everybody was like, oh, which side of the aisle should we sit on? Because we love them both, which is a really nice way to start your marriage, just knowing that everyone in the room is at peace with you embarking on this journey. But as for where we did get married, we used Disney's Wedding Pavilion, which has a little, it's near the Grand Floridian Hotel. And it has a picture window, so you see the castle behind you as you exchange your vows. And then we used the monorail to get most of our guests over to our reception venue in the Contemporary Resort. We went to California Grill, which is their restaurant up on the top floor, and it has views of the whole lake and Magic Kingdom. And we knew when we toured the venues, there was zero question that was the place for us, because it was just so exciting, and the views really spoke more than any decorations we could put anywhere. And we kept a secret the whole time we were planning the wedding that Mickey Mouse was going to come. We didn't tell our parents. Only our planner knew. And we kept hiding it under floral expenses because we didn't want anyone to know what it was. And we also didn't really know what time Mickey was going to turn up. So we were just busting the move on the dance floor, what felt like for hours, waiting for him. And we kept catching each other across the dance floor saying, is it time yet? Is it time yet? And then out he came, and everyone's faces had the reactions we'd been hoping for of like, what? Mickey's at their wedding.
Annie Leibovitz crashed our photo shoot.
What?
And I was really sour about it.
What?
We had made arrangements for a photo shoot in the park the morning after our wedding. And so we got to go in at 5 a.m. before the park opened. In one of the areas that we had contracted with Disney to get to take our pictures in. Annie's in there squatting on it, using it for her own purposes before we got to it. And she was gracious in asking if we were still able to get the shots we needed. But I was so starstruck at the moment that we met her that I'm like, Yeah.
Meanwhile, I was over here seething like, no, I didn't get the pictures I wanted because you're in the way and I had to go somewhere else, which is not the pictures that I wanted. But Disney made good on it. They gave us a reshoot of that little part that we missed. So we did get what I want. But I also think she could have just taken a selfie of us or a quick picture of us and the whole, then I would have been a fan and I would have got over it pretty quick. But Tony and our photographer were very starstruck. They were both like, oh, Annie Leibovitz.
If someone's hearing this and they wonder if their dreams could come true of finding their person, what would you say to them?
Yes, it's very possible if you go into the online dating world being honest and just being true to yourself and not bending to fit into someone else's idea of what they want. Be you. You as you are fit what somebody wants.
You aren't going to be that right person for everyone, and everyone's not going to be that right person for you, and you've got to be okay with that. And I think that it scares me how much angst there is among a lot of young males these days about, almost feeling entitled to a relationship or anyone that feels that they are owed that connection. But you have to put yourself out there first before anyone's going to find the opportunity to find something to connect to. And that takes a risk and that takes rejection, but it's something that we have to accept.
And people with passions are fascinating people. People who are passionate about something, even if it's not something that you are also passionate about, they're the easy people to get along with because they know what joy feels like when you put your effort and your heart and your soul into something. And so if there's something you're passionate about, you'll either find a twin flame that is passionate about that too, or you'll find someone with a complementary passion that allows you to keep doing what you love while they do what they love. We just happen to be similarly passionate about so many things. Disney was just the starting point. So, yeah.
And there's plenty that we're passionate about individually, being the only children that we are. Yeah. But we're good with that and respect the time that I want her to have to be able to invest into hers and vice versa.
Yeah. Give people space to be themselves. Don't let yourself shrink in that. Be authentic.
Well, Tony and Heather, thank you so much for talking with me, and congratulations on your fairy tale existence.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we hope you find yours as well, if that's what you wish.
We're going out with their song, So This Is Love, from Cinderella. After the break, what if you suddenly had to face the realities of war just a day after finally meeting your long-distance love in person? Hear what Robbie Romu discovered about his partner, Avichai Sofer, in a bomb shelter in Israel.
Even in the face of adversity, this guy will always have a sense of humor. And that was very precious to me in that time.
I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay tuned.
So this is the miracle that I've been dreaming of. So this is
This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf. Long-distance relationships are challenging on their own. Time zones, missed calls, loneliness, the waiting. But for Robbie Romu in Vancouver, Canada, and Avichai Sofer all the way in Israel, their love story took a turn no one could have imagined. After 3 years of messages, calls, and video chats, Robbie finally boarded a plane to meet Avichai face-to-face. And then, less than 24 hours after he landed, the Israel-Hamas war began. So what happens when you finally meet your match and suddenly find yourselves in a bomb shelter? They both joined me to tell the story, starting off with Robbie reading from an essay he wrote about what happened next.
I bought my ticket to Israel on September 6th. We planned 9 days in heaven from October 6th to October 15th. Avichai organized the most beautiful vacation for us in the land he calls home. I landed at Ben Gurion International Airport on Friday, October 6th at 8 p.m. Avichai was waiting for me with a sign that said Bumblebee and the brightest smile I had ever seen. We hugged, cried, and looked into each other's eyes. We awoke very late on Saturday, October 7th, to 38 missed calls and hundreds of unread text messages from his family and friends. Something had happened, but with my extremely limited understanding of Hebrew, I had no idea what. As Avichai began to return the missed calls, I opened my phone and read the headline. Netanyahu says, "We are at war." It did not feel real until I felt Avichai's hand on my shoulder and heard him say, "We need to talk about some things." He calmly told me that when we heard the air raid sirens, we would have 90 seconds to make our way to the bomb shelter in the basement of his building. There, we would wait out the barrage, and once a minute had passed from the end of the siren, we would return to his apartment. He asked me if I understood, and I told him that I did. I lied. I did not understand a single thing that was happening. Nothing in my privileged life had prepared me for this. The first siren sounded in the early evening. Avichai very calmly reached for my hand and said, "Grab your phone and your glasses. We're going downstairs now." He led me to the basement, the bomb shelter, and put his arms around me. "Everything is going to be okay," he promised. When the dull thuds began, I thought, this isn't so bad. When the rending, unearthly scream of metal meeting mortar began, the walls shook, the windows rattled, dust fell from the ceiling, and my bones moved inside my body. I told myself, this isn't so bad. I was lying. It was bad. It was just about as bad as anything I have ever experienced.
Thank you so much for reading that. Let's back up to before all this. The moment you saw each other on a dating app, tell me what happened.
No, I got butterfly in my stomach. Like I saw the most beautiful man, and plus he had a nickname of one of my most favorite Greek mythology figures. His name was Icarus, and I loved the mythology of Icarus. And I felt and I thought like, oh my God, who is this intelligent man and like so beautiful as well? And I was like immediately fell in love.
That sounds really beautiful, but really he just thought I was cute.
So you're in conversation for how long before you actually go out there and meet for the first time in October?
2.5 years, 3 years, something like that.
So this was such a long time coming. So much was put into this first visit together, yeah?
Yeah. It took us a long time to understand and realize that there's something deeper. It stretches beyond space and time, like the land that we both live in and the continents, like so separately.
Who is this guy? He's so beautiful.
I know.
I love this. Look, if we could be like super honest, at first it was just fun, you know.
Exactly.
It was just like a nice, cute guy across the world who was funny and made me laugh, and then slowly over time, we started talking more and more and more, and then it became like almost every day. And then I need to make a decision if I'm doing this or not, because to a lot of people and maybe even my friends, and it was like, are you really going to fly across the world to meet somebody that you've never met in person? And I only have one life and I don't want to regret anything. And so I was like, let's see if he's in.
And I was in.
Let's jump forward to where we left off in your essay. What happened next?
It's hard to describe, really, because to me, who is from Canada, which is, you know, a very peaceful country, I lived a pretty privileged life. I just didn't understand the full gravity of what a lot of people in this world live through and live in. So for me, it was like absolutely shocking, was absolutely overwhelming. It was, I don't even know if it was like really real. It just was I just said, I'm going to get on board. I'm going to do whatever it is that I'm supposed to do and follow instructions and just like not mess around.
Avichai, when you started hearing these air raid sirens, you knew what to do. So had you been through something like this before?
Yeah, sadly, it's not my first time experiencing wars. We had a military operation 1.5 years, 2 years before the war, and it was similar to what happened to the start of the war when we got rockets and barrages and we had to go to the shelter to protect ourselves. And I also experienced the Second Lebanon War when I was a child. So experiencing wars and conflicts is something that I'm used to. That's why I stayed so calm, even though I knew that in a matter of hours, we will have rockets on our heads showering us with all the hell that happened.
So here you are as somebody who's been through violence, and you've got this handsome, sweet guy from Canada who has no experience with anything like this in a country that is largely peaceful. And here you're meeting for the first time, and this is the reality of what's happening. How did you feel in a way, and I'm projecting, like you had to protect him or take care of him or be a calming force for him? What was that like for you, Avichai?
Definitely. I felt like I had to be like a calming of authority for myself and for him as well, to show him that even though we're at war, everything is fine and we will survive this. And I had to stay calm and strong for both of us. And luckily, he also enabled me to do that. He was showing me that I understand what you're saying. I understand like it's an intensive situation, but we will figure it out and we will sort everything. And it helped me be a stronger figure for myself and for him as well.
I have to jump in. I can't explain how safe he made me feel. I was in a bomb shelter. I swear to you, like rubble is bouncing off my hat. And I did not think I was going to die. As long as he was there, we were going to be okay.
When I think about going on a first date, I think, not a lot at stake. We're going to have a nice dinner.
Maybe ice cream for later.
Right, sure, maybe some ice cream. And maybe I might learn something about them on this date. That is the objective, right? You sure learned a lot about each other in these moments.
Yeah.
What did you learn about each other in these moments in the bomb shelter?
Even in the face of adversity, this guy will always have a sense of humor. And that was very precious to me in that time.
What did he say or do that gave you that impression?
Taking pictures and like keeping me like engaged and talking to other people. And it was like we built like this little community of people that I I obviously never expected to meet, but we'd all end up down in this, bomb shelter together. And they all knew that I was the Canadian guy. And they all like said to me, like, don't worry, come back. Our country is great. It's
not like that all the time.
Not like that.
And we kept being like humor about like the situation because might as well, we're in a tough situation. Might as well ease it up and try to get the best of it.
What did you learn about me?
Well, I learned that you're tougher than I thought. Because honestly, I thought, he's Canadian. He's never experienced war. I thought that first time he would be like more anxious and more like freaked out about everything. And he was so sturdy and so like strong. And I look at him and I was like, are you sure you're okay? I was like asking him so many times, like I wanted to explain to him what's going on. And he was like, yeah, I'm good. It made me realize that I'm dating a very, very strong man.
How do you think being exposed in such a severe way to such chaos has informed the way you love each other or the way you've bonded with each other?
For me, it felt like we experienced something greater than us, something in a much higher level. Like we experienced how it is to survive in a war and how it is to coexist while big struggles are hitting us outside. It bonded our relationship in a much deeper bond. For me personally, it's like a learning experience that helps us realize how much we care and love each other.
There's also such a thing called trauma bonding, which is very real. And I think that, I don't know what would have happened, but I feel that that experience bonded us strongly, as opposed to just 9 days of heaven, which would have also been very great.
Avichai, when you were saying goodbye at the airport, as all this chaos was happening, what was that like for you?
It was pretty hard because I felt like God has betrayed me. I felt like he gave me this amazing person, and the minute we say hello to each other, hell breaks loose and we need to say goodbye after a few days. I felt like someone has been playing with me.
We spent a lot of time being mad at the universe.
Yeah.
Trying to come to terms with like, why? Like, this is not funny.
It took me a long time to accept it and to understand that it's a part of our chaotic world and chaotic life where sometimes we don't perceive or we don't understand these experiences at the moment. But as time went by, we understand that it's like it was a situation that only brought us together, brought us closer together.
We spent a lot of time being mad at the universe.
Yeah.
Trying to come to terms with like, why? Like, this is not funny.
It was hard for me to say goodbye to him because I wasn't believing that much. I wasn't afraid in the levels that he was afraid because it was his first time seeing war and I'm used to wars and like stuff like that happening. So I had a much brighter and optimistic approach to what's coming up next. I knew that the start of the war would be harsh and violent and cruel, but at the end of it, it will subside and we will be able to see each other in a bigger blip.
We have a saying, in a wild crocodile and see you later alligator, right?
Yeah.
We have one that's like, it's just a blip potato chip.
We often say that to each other to realize that sometimes, because we live in a long distance relationship and it feels hard sometimes to not be around one another. So we are reassuring ourselves with that statement that it's just a tiny blip.
Yeah.
It showed the absurdity that war brings people together. And even in the toughest situation, love can thrive and bloom.
Yeah, I can't wait to come back again and hang out for some more great Israeli food and desserts.
He's obsessed with Israeli desserts.
Yeah, what's your favorite Israeli dessert?
Rogalach.
Rogalach. It's like cookies and it's either filled with chocolate or with cinnamon and he's obsessed with it.
I'm gaining weight like every day, just enjoying the treats. Oh, it's so good.
Well, Robbie, Romu, and Avichai Sofer, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you so much, Kayan. It was very lovely to meet you.
Audacious is always lovingly produced by Jessica Severin DeMartinez, Meg Fitzgerald, Robin Doyon Aitken, and Meg Dalton at Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford, with help from our interns Kathy Wang and Angelica Kajewski. Special thanks to that mellifluous voice you heard in the intro, my dear friend, Michelle Horsley. If you like this episode, we have an Audacious Love playlist, including advice from couples who've been married for over 50 years, perspective of power and play with doms and subs in the BDSM world, and spectrosexuality, when you marry a spirit or a god.
When we step into a bonded relationship with one of these kinds of beings, really exciting, emergent consciousness can happen.
For more one-of-a-kind conversations about love and life's other big mysteries, go to ctpublic.org/audacious or wherever you get your podcasts. Stay in touch with me on the socials at Kayon Wolf, and you can always send an email to audacious@ctpublic.org. Peace and love.